Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Britton's Hangout Hour, episode 109. I am here today with Chance Dillon. How you doing, Chance?
I'm doing swell, man. I'm doing really swell.
Um, he has a BookTube channel. He writes. He actually sent me. Was it an excerpt? It was like 40
Yeah,
pages. I
yeah.
haven't. I
It's like
haven't. I'll admit I
it's
haven't read much of it yet, but
no, you're good. You're good.
but
It's
um.
yeah, the first 40 pages.
Oh, okay. Yeah, our mutual friend Slay was like, "Yo, Chance is cooking with his writing. You gotta hit him up." I'm like, "All right."
Yeah, apparently you are too, man. I don't know how much you talk about it, honestly. Do you get into it at all on your channel or no?
I do talk about it a little bit. I'm trying to kind of, I'm trying not to talk too much about it. I mean, I'll talk about it if someone asks, but I
Yeah.
um, I don't want to like, I don't want like a George R. R. Martin situation where I get everyone excited and then I'm like, oh, we're gonna have to wait a little longer, and they're like, no.
Well, dude, I tell you what, I'm already excited. You got John excited. You got Slay
No.
excited. You got all the producers on that call excited.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I think that's actually how I learned about you or met you was on John's channel. So
Yeah, that's how I heard about you as well. Yeah, the town square, it really brings people together.
yeah, it does. I enjoy those. I actually have one planned for this month. I just haven't. I'm hoping to get to it before I leave because I'm going to Florida next week.
Oh, okay, nice. And
Hmm.
you got to fly from a different time zone, right?
Yes, because I'm in Central Time out here in Oklahoma. I think Florida's Eastern Time.
Yep, yep. Oh, it depends on where you're going. I think the Panhandle up there is still central. But
Oh, well,
okay,
I'm heading
that's
to Fort
interesting.
Lauderdale, so it's
Oh, I'm bad at maps right now, which is terrible. That's why I hired somebody to
don't
draw
get me
them.
wrong. I mean, don't worry. I'm not really good at maps either. I wish my mom were here. She would know.
Yeah, exactly. They always know where things are. They just have that instinct. So what can you tell me about, or can you tell people about your project if I ask,
Well,
if you're comfortable
I
sharing?
will say it's a dark fantasy novel. It's about.
Okay.
I'm really like 'cause a lot of people tend to think in words. I generally tend to think in page number. So it's like
Okay. Yeah.
256 pages. So it's like it's
Wow.
either just above 80,000 words or it's like right up there. So it is technically
Right.
novel length. So I don't
Yeah.
know how
No, that's a novel. That's a 80,000 words is certainly a novel. I picked up. I think this is about 200. This was what's his name? Aaron from the production call, Ruins of Ivy. I picked it up after that call.
Oh,
This is about the. I mean, it's a novel. 250 some odd pages. You know, it's that's good. That's a good size. Um, That's awesome, man. So we got the word count. We know the page. It's a dark fantasy. How did it kind of come to your head, if you don't mind me asking? Like
well,
what drove you?
it really came to me over a few years. I remember I read Beowulf when I was in. We may get a Doctor Fantasy sighting if I bring it up too much.
Uh,
But I read Beowulf in high school. I'm like, oh, that sounds pretty cool. And I thought, maybe I could do something with that. And I kind of played with that for a little while. And then I read some like older, like pulp fantasy, like Solomon Kane. I'm like, I want to do something like that because originally the book that was A Plague of Nightmares was going to be a Solomon Kane fan project. But then I decided it probably wouldn't work because Solomon Kane isn't really a character. He's like a force of nature.
oh wow.
So I changed up the characters a little bit, and it's kind of and it took a while for me to think it up, and then I had a conversation with a friend, and he finally kind of gave me the kick in the pants I needed to write it, and now we're here. I finished it. I'm probably gonna start on the second book next year. So
Oh, nice, nice,
yeah,
nice, nice.
yeah.
And what is your how much time do you set time aside? Because you said you're in class, right? Like, yeah.
I generally write at night. Like I have an alarm actually for 10:30 p.m.
Okay.
and I haven't been doing it because I hit a massive slump this year. But
Yeah.
I set some time at 10:30 and I just write until I can't no more until I go to bed.
Nice, 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 nice. Have you ever touched Stephen Pressfield's War of Art?
I don't believe I have. No.
That one you can finish in like an hour. It's like not an hour, but it's a relatively short book. Um, being that you already finished a project, I think, I mean, you would greatly still benefit from reading this, but it sounds like you overcame a lot of the obstacles that come with getting into something. War of Art is like just another tool in the toolbox that I think is, I don't know, I found it vital, and it changed my life. It changed my cousin. He sings and songwrites. It changed his life in a lot of ways. Just like, so I recommend it. I don't want to get too preachy about it, but I
Oh,
definitely
I
recommend it.
guess I already have it on my to read list on
Mhm.
Goodreads because I have it on one to read. So okay, I guess I have heard
It's a
of it.
quick one. It's very quick.
It says
You could pick it up and put
168
it down.
pages, so yeah, I could
Yeah,
probably knock that out in like
and
two
like
days.
some of them are half pages. Do you know what I mean? Like they're not super long. You could crush it.
Yeah, no, yeah, what have I read? I've read bits of On Writing by Stephen King, though that's
Yeah,
more of his
yeah.
just kind of reflections on his writing career rather than like
Hmm.
this is how you write. Though he does give a lot of
Yeah,
writing advice in that book.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I liked it. I liked hearing about him. The first person account of getting hit by a car.
Oh my god,
Or
yeah,
I forgot what it was, a truck, a car, whatever.
yeah, it was a
But yeah,
van actually.
van.
Yeah,
That's exactly. There you go. I got it wrong twice. You have so many options, but yeah. Okay, nice.
it was like yeah, thank God he survived that because oh man.
Yeah, yeah. What are you reading right now?
What am I reading right now? Well, I am reading Eileen by Otasha Moshfegh, which is like a
Okay.
psychological thriller, and I also started The Wizard by Jane Wolfe. So, which
Oh,
is
I
like
just picked that up. I'm not starting it yet, but I literally just bought it last week.
I love this copy by the way, which is why I got it
Yeah,
like this. I love the
yeah,
like cover art there.
love it. The Tour Essentials copies of Gene Wolfe stuff are very cool. How are you liking it?
I've been kind of mixed on it so far. I'm like, it's well written, but it's just kind of like I don't know. He just throws a lot of stuff at you. So a lot of people who say he throws a lot at you, they're right. So
Okay,
so
okay,
keep that
noted,
in mind.
noted.
I'm just kind of, I'm moving through it slowly. We'll say
Yeah, I mean, I think his writing calls for that.
trying to.
His
It's kind of
style.
hard. I'm hoping to have it done before the end of the year. So we'll see how it goes.
Did you hear from that about that from, or did you find that on your own? You have one of the most unique reading tastes I think I've seen on BookTube.
I no, I mean I heard about it from like some other people. Like I think well, I think it was like Neil Gaiman or someone
Oh wow.
was where I
Okay.
first heard about it or something. I don't remember where I heard it from. I think I
Okay.
just there were a lot of people tell me to go read like Book of the New Sun, which I'm like, all right, I'll get to that. I'm not really in a
Ah,
rush to though, so I'm just kind of.
I'm a massive fan of those two books. I mean, of the three, of the two that I read. Yeah, I love them.
But yeah, no. My friend Sam really is trying to get me into Gene Wolfe. It's interesting. You kind of have he's playing. I'll put it this way. I think Gene Wolfe is just on a level. I'm just not there.
Yeah,
I don't know if I'm like getting it for that matter. You know.
yeah. He's an. I mean, have you read any Sun Eater or no? You're still
No, I haven't gotten to that yet.
okay. Okay, so I'd say if it's the style to me is very similar, but I think it's sort of intentional by Christopher Rocchi, I think. Yeah, I'm trying to think. Based on the excerpt I read from Black Leopard, Red Wolf, have you looked at Book of the New Sun? Like, have you checked out the first chapter or something?
I've read part of I read like some of the Amazon sample. While
Okay,
I was kind
okay,
of coursing through it, just kind of like, oh, okay, let's see what's going on here.
yeah,
And I mean, I didn't really get very far because my attention span is awful.
you're good,
Um,
dude.
but I really oh yeah, I got like a couple pages in. I was like, okay, yeah, this is interesting.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
not as it's not as it like because like a lot of people, it's kind of like with Malazan. A lot of people are like, oh, it's kind of complicated and whatnot. I'm like, I can kind of visualize what's going on.
Yeah, that's what matters, right? I
Yeah,
think I think I think a lot of there if you read something, a lot of people who I think say that have read it twice or at least twice.
Yeah, he
And
seems like a writer you should read twice. I'm definitely gonna read The Wizard Knight twice.
okay,
Well, this is my
okay, that's
first
good to know.
time, so I'm hoping I could read it again at some point. I'm really bad at
Yeah.
rereading, so
Oh, me
whenever that'll
too.
be, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think I've done a single reread yet. I thought about it. I thought about it with The Road, with Cormac McCarthy, because that one to me was like a quick emotional like gut punch, and I would read that one again. But I'm terrible at rereading. That's why I don't even make plans to do it. Not yet. I'm not. I don't think I'm there yet. You know.
That's fair. I mean, I've done a couple of rereads, but like I'm generally like I keep trucking. You know, I
Yeah.
gotta get to the books. You know.
You got a long list of like a bunch of variety. You know, you have a lot. You have a diverse selection of novels that you read.
I know. Yeah, it's
How do you just find them? You make a list and then you pick out mood wise, right? What you're
pretty
getting into.
much. Yeah, it really is just like what am I more interested in reading than not, and I kind of just it's hard to explain. You know,
Yeah, I gotcha.
like one of
Yeah.
my I just yeah, you know, I just recorded a video for tomorrow, not long before I got into this conversation, and they're like, "So what's your reading like?" And I'm like, "Well, I often read like late at night when people aren't like around or anything, and I just like to just sit and read at
Okay.
night. I don't know, I just like it better for whatever reason." Because I'm not a
Okay. So
morning
you're a night
person.
owl.
I hate getting up early in the
Yeah.
morning. I don't like it.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, I can do it, but I don't like doing it.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's kind of how do I pick them? My lord, I sometimes it's like I hear about it from other people, like I watch different BookTube channels or something, or I'll read a review from somebody who likes this book, and I'm like, I want to read that because they wrote about it so well, or something
Yeah.
like that, or I'll hear like or I've been on BookTube more in the last couple of years, I hear like John or Alan from
Yep.
Alexandria talk about something. I'm like, oh, that sounds interesting. I'll add that
Yeah.
to my list.
Imperium. Alan from Alexander. I know I'm pointing. It looks like I'm pointing at A Court of Mist and Fury, but Imperium by Robert Harris was Alan's number one on his top 10, and I was like, okay, well, I'm going to pick it up because it seems like it's a relatively fast read. It's written in first person. And Black Leopard Red Wolf is written in first person, right?
It is, yes.
Okay.
Um,
Do you like that narrative style over third person?
it's kind of funny. I generally prefer like third person, but
Hmm.
it's kind of funny because some of my favorite books of all time are first person.
Yeah, I feel the same way.
Like
Yeah.
like so I try not to. One of the things that kind of peeves me about BookTube is they're like, oh, I'm a this kind of reader, and I'm like, I try to be wary of those in my own videos
Mm.
because like you contradict yourself all the time. So, I
Yeah.
kind of don't
Yeah.
want to be like, well, what about this book, Britton? And I'll just be fumbling over
Yeah.
myself. I don't want that to happen.
No, no, that's fair. Yeah. It's
Um,
it's it's easy to fall into those traps too. It's like everyone thinks that you make a statement and all of a sudden you're making like, a final, like there's no exceptions. This is that. That's it.
or, you can read you're just like, I'm a character first reader. And then you read something that's like, or like Childhood's End, which I wouldn't say is the most character driven of books. I love that book. And you're just like, oh no. But generally, I'll say I do prefer third person, but I do like a lot of first person books.
Yeah.
Some of my
Yeah.
favorite books are in that voice.
Yeah. I think I feel the same way. I feel like it's really hard to write a first, like it feels within limitations of a first person book, you're not there. There's only so much you can get. And that's why I'm really impressed with authors who do first person so well. Usually they're giving you so much from the perspective of a single individual. I mean, obviously you can jump between characters, but the scope that you get from a third person book is just so much. It typically is so much more grand. Typically, obviously you have exceptions. I found Gene Wolfe. I found Book of the New Sun kind of gives you that. Like it's a very slow peel back of like seeing how the world is through his eyes, and it's so methodical. And obviously, you're talking about Sam, like Samwise, right? Samwise.
Yeah, yeah, he's a good
Yeah,
friend of
yeah.
mine.
His breakdowns are pretty good, and he's obviously become, I think, a big Sun Eater fan as well. Who takes the same narrative approach, and they just Christopher Rocchio, Gene Wolfe, Robert Harris, who did Imperium, like the scope that they're able to build, like the scope of the worlds that they create, I found to be so fascinating just through that first person that lens. I don't know. But yeah, I typically prefer. I'm the same as you. I think I typically prefer third person.
Yeah, I mean, again, I try not to make like declarative statements, even though it's very tempting to do that. But
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, it's really at the end of the day, I think it's really who does it and how it's done that really
yep,
is like you could write a really bad first person narrative, you could write a really good one. It doesn't
yeah.
really. I know that's probably like it's probably very generic, but it's kind of it
No,
depends on how you do it. I guess is what I'm saying.
yeah, absolutely.
Like one of my favorite crime writers, Dennis Lehane, is fantastic at doing first person.
Okay, okay. I
Um,
feel like I've heard that name.
but like I mean, speaking, I haven't written a lot of first person stuff, but I can tell you from my experience in writing, which is very limited, but um it's harder to do first person because
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
stuck in that character's perspective.
yeah.
So yeah, so third
So it's
person's a little easier in that regard. But
so it's. I was gonna
um
say it's safe to say that your book is written third
yeah, mine's
person.
third person limited. So
Okay.
just
Yeah.
kind of I did think because like a lot of the book I wrote is kind of inspired by like hard boiled stuff, like crime stuff.
Okay.
And I'm like, should I do first person? I'm like, no, and I just decided against it because I'm like, you know what? I'm like, maybe I'll try it at another point, but
Yeah.
you know, so yeah, but yeah, mine's third person limited right now. So,
Okay.
um,
That's exciting.
but but yeah, I think at the end of the day, it depends on who's doing it. It's just
Yeah. Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, there's but yeah, no, I generally prefer third person, but I'm not against first person at all. So
Okay. Noted. Noted.
yeah,
Yeah. I'm
yeah.
I'm I'm obsessed with process. So I'm obviously going to ask a lot of questions because I'm so curious about like your method and how you approach your writing. So it's cool to hear that you pick it up at 10:30 at night, and that's kind of your method is setting an alarm and getting after it. That's pretty cool, man.
Yeah, no, I mean, again, I kind of hit a massive slump this year, so now like 10:30 when that alarm goes off, I generally read during that time, so I'm
Oh,
doing
hey,
something.
yeah, yeah, whatever. I think
But
we beat ourselves
2025, I'm
up.
hoping to get back into the writing train,
Yeah,
because
yeah. Hey, whatever. I mean, obviously, selfishly, I love when people do what they're passionate about. It just because it drives that sort of thing. Like again, being obsessed with process, that sort of thing drives me. So hearing about your work, it makes me excited, obviously, for what you're getting into. And even though I know we don't want a George R. R. Martin case
yeah,
on our hands, um, but
or like a
I don't
Scott
know.
Lynch where
Yeah,
well, Scott Lynch is a little different. I think he
yeah, a
is
little
starting to
different.
come
Yeah.
back to the fold.
Yeah, he's showing up at these events, and it's cool. It's cool to see. And I think he did a Grimdark magazine story as well recently, which I haven't read, but
Yeah, I had
I've
to pay
heard.
like $4.99. I'm like, I'm not doing that.
Yeah, the thing I subscribe, but it's like one of those things I'm just like never picking up, even though I want to, because I know Christopher Rocchio's got one in there. I love Christopher Rocchio. I saw Scott Lynch did it. I see Michael R. Fletcher is obviously a frequenter of Grimdark magazine, so that sort of thing excites me. And
Yeah,
obviously, I love the artwork on the covers; like, it just blows me away.
yeah, I read his Beyond Redemption, Michael R.
Mm,
Fletcher, which I thought was a really interesting book.
yeah,
Um,
tell me. I need to know. I've had it on my list for a while.
oh, you haven't read it. Oh, you mentioned
No,
you had familiarity with Michael R. Fletcher. I thought maybe
yeah,
you'd read it.
yeah, yeah. He's a Grimdark. He's on the Grimdark kind of like Mount Rushmore, right?
Yeah, I mean, I guess so. I mean, I don't really. I mean, I've only read Beyond Redemption, but I thought it was a really fascinating book. Uh, it's really visceral, so I'll give you a warning. There's a lot of
Yeah, that's
like,
fine.
it's,
Yeah,
it's very visceral. So, which I really appreciate because there was stuff in that book that genuinely disgusted me, and I'm like, I gotta put that down
Oh.
for a minute.
Wow.
No, and that does not happen easy. Like I don't, I don't do that often. So there you
Yeah.
go.
Yeah. Okay. Noted.
I mean, I don't know if you've ever read Elric, but it kind of reminded me of that kind of the weird world of those books. So there's that.
Okay.
But
I
pretty.
haven't I haven't read Elric. Is that I again another one on my list. To me, everything I hear about it, it's something like the Black Company or Dread Empire. You can pick it up, read hundred some odd pages of whatever arc, and then put it down, kind of like a comic or like a novel, like short stories. Essentially, it's like
Pretty
anthologies,
much,
right?
yeah. I mean, it's inspired a lot by Sword and Sorcery. So, Sword and Sorcery are very, very fast. Generally, they're generally short stories. That's where they work best, anyway.
Okay, okay,
Which is probably why they're not so popular anymore. Because, like, my God, fantasy short stories, like, who does
yeah,
that?
yeah. I think well, Sanderson changed the game, right? Everybody, well, in a lot of ways, I think just the scope and the rules and just kind of materializing all of these aspects of what makes a great fantasy story or a great sci-fi story, and it's kind of cool that he's done that. And in so doing, you see a lot of longer books coming out, and then you see the difference between book ones and book twos. It's just so wild to me.
Sorry, I was letting my cat in.
Oh, you're good. You're good.
You were
What's
saying?
the name? What is the name of the cat?
Her name? Oh, come here. Is Jerry.
Jerry. All
Uh
right.
huh.
I feel like I should have known that based on.
She makes appearances in my videos from time to
Yeah, I
time.
was gonna say. I feel like I should have known that by now.
But no, yeah, that's it's kind of funny. The video I was recording was a Q&A, and someone asked me what's one of my blind spots as a reader. I think it was actually Sam who asked me that.
Oh,
Sanderson is one of them, though. I'll admit I've always been kind of wary of Brandon Sanderson, not just because he's super popular, but just
right.
I don't always agree with his ideas about fantasy, if that
Okay.
makes
Yeah.
sense.
Which I get. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm sure it's fine. I mean, I'm sure he writes fine, but it's
Yeah.
just like his approach isn't ever really, it's kind of like with the Wheel of Time, which is funny because he wrote the last
You
couple
wrote
books of
the.
that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's just like I've heard about it. I know there's a lot of people who love him, and he seems like a nice dude. I've seen a couple of his like
Yeah.
videos on his YouTube channel. He's an interesting guy. Like he has a lot of I don't know if you've watched any of his videos, but I mean if you're interested in process, he talks a lot about it. So
Yeah.
like it's
The lecture series. I tried. I don't know how many ever hours there are of those that I dove into when I first started getting into my writing, and it was it's very insightful. But I agree that. And at the time, I was kind of treating it like, oh, this is the way it should be. But then I was like, nah, you know what? I don't wholly agree that like magic becoming wholly a science. I don't agree that that's necessarily how it should be done. And I don't think I think he puts it on a spectrum, right? I think in his lecture talking about magic systems. Um, but at the end of the day, I think the core concepts, if you kind of break it down, I need to be talked to like I'm a third grader. So when I hear him talk, I feel like I am being talked to that in a good way. It just means he's good at communicating.
it's kind of a mixed bag because oh dear.
Jerry, is that Jerry?
No, no, my thing just fell off. What the hell happened there? What the shit?
What? I can't even see what that is.
Weird. No, it's just this light I use. Like it turns
Oh,
on. Oh, is it out of
okay.
battery? I
There
guess
it
it
is.
is. Anyway, it's kind of a mixed thing because like he talks a lot about like world building and lore, and I'm a big world building lore nut. Like I love that
Hmm.
stuff. Like I'm a
Yeah.
big fan of that stuff. But yeah, I agree with you. That's it's his ideas on magic where I'm like, I don't think it has to be that way per se.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying like magic is science could be it could be done. I'm not saying it's like
Yes.
not a terrible like there's books that have done that in an interesting way. It's just how
Yep.
he does it. It just kind of for me anyway. It just kind of takes the mystique out. I'm just like, oh,
Yeah. I think it's kind of how it's comprehended. I mean, I read Just Way of Kings, and I'm not. I mean, there are lines where you do see that sort of thing come up. But to me, it's just like so quick and it's like out of the way. And I'm like, all right, like we can move on. And then he gets back to the story. But it does feel like it kind of separates me from the world a little. That said, like I did truly enjoy The Way of Kings, and I'm actually getting into Words of Radiance later this month, just because. But that was my first Sanderson experience before, like after I had already listened to all of his lectures and stuff, is when I finally started reading Brandon Sanderson. So I was like, oh, okay, let me get into his stuff and see what this is all about. And I know people love him, and I enjoy his. I enjoyed Way of Kings, but I kind of share the same sentiment that like it's not. Um, I don't know. He's obviously very successful, and I think the way that he speaks, uh, his writing style, and how accessible it is, it kind of opens the window. There's no barrier to entry, which is a great thing because it brings people into the world, these fantasy worlds, which I think is fantastic. Whereas like Lord of the Rings, you have, which I love, um, you have this giant description of the world,
Yeah,
and so.
he's very forward thinking, which I appreciate.
Mhm.
He's realizing like, okay, Kickstarter's going to be a thing. It's going to keep being a thing. I don't know if he's done indie publishing yet, but
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm not sure on that. But I mean, he's very forward thinking though, which I appreciate in terms of like how to promote and
Oh yeah,
publishing and stuff like that.
changed the game for I think the future of authors. Really, he's like really helped kind of that barrier as well. Again, I'm not sure. I don't know if I agree. I don't know if he's done like his novellas on independently or what, but um, yeah, he's paving the way in a lot of facets. I know at Audible he was doing that too. He's like getting the authors a bigger cut, negotiating with them, and it's interesting. It's interesting to see.
Yeah, no, it's just I mean, I don't really know what else. Again, I can't really speak too much on Sanderson because again, I haven't
Yeah,
really read a lot of his stuff yet, so
yeah,
it's kind
yeah,
of one of my blind spots. But yeah, so that's but he
yeah.
seems like an
That's a
interesting
good
guy
question.
though.
Yeah, it's a good question Samwise asked.
It was I mean, I answered a couple of others like Ursula K. Le Guin I haven't read yet, or Roger
Oh,
Zelazny I
me
haven't
either.
read yet.
Yep, yep, yep. Me either.
So
Yeah.
yeah, those as well. But
Guy Gavriel K is another one I really want to get into that I
same.
just haven't yet. Yeah.
I've got him yet.
Yeah. I'm
The
surprised. I'm
the
just, I
FOMO
don't
the
know why.
FOMO was strong this year when I saw people talking about Guy Gabriel K. I was like,
Yep.
man, really? Okay.
Yeah. I had the same feeling. I'm like, man, I really need to read something of his. Um, it just sounds like my wheelhouse too. It's just, I don't know why I haven't picked it up. There's so many books, man. I mean,
I know.
because you read so wide that it's like I imagine that and I try to, but at the same time, like my priorities are typically lean towards fantasy, lean towards sci-fi,
That's
lean
fair.
towards historical fiction.
I mean, good lord. I mean, then I learned about like indie, and I'm like,
Yeah,
guys,
yeah,
there's so many books I have already. I gotta read. Stop it.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
You're killing me over
yeah.
here. No, but
Are 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 you planning on trying to? You're going to be doing independently published?
I'm really leaning on indie because like
Yeah,
my book, it's for one, it's basically a small town mystery in a fantasy setting. It's
very
not
sick.
pseudo medieval. There's not one of those Sandersonian magic systems.
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
not there's not a bunch of world building. I'm saving that for other books to do more of that world building
Yeah,
lore stuff. Because
yeah,
I'm trying to be generous with my readers here. I'm trying to give them an easy way in with that
of
because I don't
course.
want to be that guy who's like, oh man, just get to the second book and it picks up. I don't want to be that guy, you know.
Yeah, yeah, that's fair.
Um, so I'm like, I've calculated the odds. I'm like, is someone gonna pick this up? I don't think so. I really don't. But I
Hmm.
don't know. Maybe. But I'm leaning
Yeah,
towards maybe self-pubbing it because, like,
yeah.
I don't know.
Have you shared it with anybody so far, or this is it's
I've
just
shared a
been in your
couple of
hands?
chapters with like fans and people I know, and me and my
Cool.
dad are gonna look through it. It has been edited, so I'm gonna
Yeah,
do some more on my own, and then
yeah.
I'm hopefully gonna see if I can try and indie publish it in 2025, but we'll see. I don't know. I don't know.
That'd be sick. That'd be
That would
sick.
be
I
pretty
hope you do.
awesome. I mean, hey,
Yeah.
booktubers, hit me up. I will talk about my book.
Yeah,
I'm here.
exactly, dude.
You know, I'm here.
Hey, I haven't been able to successfully stream on StreamYard yet because I tried with a Berserk discussion, um, which maybe we can get you on the next one, by the way, because I think I asked and I never followed up. But
Oh,
um, yeah, because
well, I
we're gonna
have
do
read
we're doing the
Berserk.
conviction arc. Oh, you haven't or have?
I have.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Okay, so we're doing the conviction arc. That's what I thought. So I was like, maybe we can get you in on the
I
conviction arc
got to the
conversation.
part where because last year I started binging it. I'm like, all right, this Berserk thing, I'm gonna give it a
Yeah,
shot. I read like the first arc, and I'm like, okay, it's pretty solid, you know,
yeah,
kind of edge lordy, but it's all right, you know.
yeah,
It's the first
super.
couple of arcs, right?
Yeah.
And then I read the Golden Age, which I'm like, holy crap, okay, this is okay. Yeah, I
Now
wish
you
I just
get
started
why
there.
he,
I
yeah,
wish I just started
yeah. You're
there.
like, oh wow, now I get why he is that way. Yeah,
Um, then I read the Lost Children arc, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna stop there for a little while.
oh,
Now I'm
okay.
at the part where they're Casca's lost her mind and she's wandered off basically, and there's
Okay.
that
I don't
creepy
know if I don't know
priest.
if I got there yet. I don't know
So
if I'm there yet. I think I'm right. Well, no, I don't think I'm there yet. I think I'm on volume like 14 or 15. The goal was that we all get up to volume 21 in the last conversation we had with Tom Orange, Jake, Chris, and Alex over from their channels, also talking story acolytes, you know.
yeah,
Um, so yeah, it'd be really cool to have you on too in that conversation. I don't see why we can't have six people talk at the
yeah.
same
No,
time.
I generally read more American comics, but I've been slowly dipping my toes in the manga. I
Yeah, this
like
is my first
Berserk
experience.
is really good. I really like it a lot. Um, I often try to tell people to start with the Golden Age and not the Black Swordsman because
Mm,
like I think that if they started with the Black Swordsman they might kind of bounce off of it.
okay.
But you know I don't know. I'm still relatively new readers, so you can take my. I've gotten some pushback from other fans like no you should start with the Black Swordsman and
Yeah, I don't
I don't
know.
know anymore.
Tom from Tom Orange, he was talking about it, and he had watched the movies, which was the Golden Age first.
Mm,
So the experience that you're talking about, he said like not knowing where he ends up was a totally different experience than like going back and reading it the way that he ends up. The actual what's his name? I'm not doing it justice. Kentaro Miura does the manga, so it's interesting how you can have just two wholly different experiences. Like I don't think I'm sure there's a right way, you know, like a canon way to do it, but overall, I mean, I enjoyed the experience either way. I was kind of along for the ride, you know.
sure,
And
I mean that's
and
fair.
you're getting into Malazan, right, in the new year.
Sometime in 2025, I will be
Oh
getting
yeah,
into Malazan or Malazan or however they
yeah,
pronounce it.
whatever. Yeah, I don't know.
I don't think Erickson really cares all that much how it's
No,
pronounced.
no, yeah. He goes, oh, you know, I guess
He's like,
how
"Oh, you're
many of them
reading my
millions
book.
of
Thank
copies?
you.
Yeah,
I'll take the
exactly,
money."
exactly. Yeah, exactly. I don't care. You bought it, right? It's like,
No, but yes, I am I'm looking forward to that because a lot. It's one of those like everyone and their grandma was telling me to go read Malazan, and I'm like, all right, okay, fine.
yeah. I mean, you read so wide that uh, I wouldn't, you know, I'm not going to be shocked. I think if you do enjoy it or if you don't, like whatever, you know, at the end of the day, your taste is your taste. Like I love it, obviously, but I think there is that sort of, you know, there can be a like what we were talking about. I think it was with Gene Wolfe or Sanderson. It's that barrier to entry. I don't think it exists in Malazan as much as people say it does. I think
Mm,
that that's overblown, and I think that's a consistent. I think people who talk about it have that consistent. It's funny because the people who talk about it, they say, "Oh, it has a barrier to entry. It's hard to follow. Just you know whatever." And then there's the group of people who read it and like, yeah, I mean, it's really enjoyable. Just be along for the ride, buckle up, and it's a fantasy book. You can follow it, but at the end of the day, you're going to have this massive scope of a fantasy world. Uh, and, you know, I don't know if there's anything I can compare it to that would be able to bring it together. You play Elden Ring? You play video games at all?
oh yeah. I'm really bad at those like soul like games,
Me too. Me
so
too.
I
Yeah.
don't. I get real frustrated and I don't play. I just.
Yeah. Yeah. I get
But
it.
I love the world design though. So there you
Yes.
go.
Elden Ring is the closest way I can describe Malazan in a lot of ways, and maybe this is my bias because a lot of my inspiration was like a George R. R. Martin's work with the guy who developed Elden Ring for my book, and then of course Malazan. But Elden Ring is a world where you're experiencing the lore of it through the characters' development, but you're a nobody. Like you're literally supposed to be this nobody who's like cursed to die and revive over and over and over again. Um, and Malazan is not so much that, in that way, but you're seeing the eyes through the eyes of these characters who have already experienced this world in a lot of ways. So they're not experiencing it for the first time. Whereas Harry Potter, you get Harry Potter coming into Hogwarts. This is his first time seeing it. He has all these people teaching him the ways of being a wizard and
Yeah, because
how to live
his
with in
aunt and uncle
comparison.
are jerks. They don't want him to.
Exactly.
They don't want him finding
Exactly.
out.
Exactly. So I would say it's kind of the antithesis of that. Like you, like you have a world where everything's kind of instructed and shown through the eyes of Harry, and then you have a world that's like you kind of. I mean, I don't know, man. So there's Malazan readers who will disagree with me because there are a lot of things in that book that these characters who are experiencing it for the first time. They're just not being taught by a professor. You know what I mean? They're being taught through experience, and it's like it is vivid experience,
I mean, as long
but
as
not
it's
so
like
much
the
this is
first Game of
otherworldly.
Thrones book, which
Yeah,
I'll probably be fine with it. But I don't know. I'm kind of thinking I'll just figure it out when I get there.
I'm not worried. Yeah, you'll be fine. It's definitely can be a bit overblown. I think Gene Wolfe is a bit more. I don't think the two go hand in hand at all, with the exception of if you have understood reading Gene Wolfe's, I think you'll be fine going to Malazan. But I don't think like the other way around necessarily uh, coincides. I don't think if you like get Malazan, you'll get Gene Wolfe. But Malazan, it's not even about getting it. I'm not even doing it justice. You'll be fine. It's a big giant fantasy story with a lot of perspectives.
I
That's
mean,
that's
there's
really it.
10 books, so I have a long way to
Yes.
go. Which is one of the
Yeah.
reasons why I was kind of hesitant to read it for so long. I'm like, I don't really do the like real long series, I'm just kind of,
Hmm.
if I do a long series, it's like Game of Thrones or Harry Potter, where I'm like really invested in what's going on.
Yep. Yep.
Um,
I've fallen in love with it. It's just
but
the
I've
way that he writes emotion.
people wore down my attrition, and I'm like, you know what? Fine, I'll read Malazan. All right, go away,
That's
leave me
exciting.
alone.
I'll be following along for that. Trust me. I'm gonna if whatever videos you're posting about Malazan, I love it, and there is something about
Now
that shared experience.
I will note I don't know how many of the books I'll get to, but
Whatever it is,
I'm at least going to get to Gardens of the Moon next year. So
good. That's perfect. Whatever it is. Remel, I think his name is Remel Broadcasting. Have you heard of him? He's a booktuber.
I don't think so. How do you spell that?
Okay, Remmel Broadcasting. He did a guard. He just finished Dead House Gates, the second book. But I think he does a very like small 2 minute non spoiler, and then he just gets right into it. But he did a Gardens of the Moon review where I think his perspective is pretty valuable going into it, and he loved it, of course. So biasly, I'm going to say, hey, you should check him out. And then obviously AP and Canavan and Dr. Phil Chase, they're the best.
Yeah, no, I really like AP stuff. He really thinks
Yeah.
deeply about this stuff. I actually had him on my podcast a few months ago.
Oh, I got to find that episode then.
Um,
I
yeah,
love listening
that
to
was a
AP.
fun one.
Yeah.
he was really, it was a fun time. It was a fun time.
Yeah. It feels like he always knows the right question to ask whenever I watch
Yeah,
him.
like my lord, it was one of those episodes where I just felt like a dummy, just sitting there. I'm like, ooh
He's
wee.
incredibly smart. Yeah. I watch them and I'm like, oh, geez, I don't know if I'd be able to survive a conversation, like
I
who
mean, hey, he
knows?
was very giving with his time. I'm kind of surprised he let me yap as long as he did, but there we go. He was polite, and he was
Yeah.
very responsive to stuff we talked about. So it was a great time.
Yeah.
It was like I'm just very it was very it was a good one. It was a good episode.
Yeah. He developmentally edited Philip, right? In
He did.
Adan,
Yeah, I think he
right?
did.
Okay,
Yes.
that's what I thought.
I did read the Adan trilogy this year, which I thought was really good. Um,
Okay,
I don't know. I see you have it on your channel, but I don't know if you've read them yet.
I read the first book.
Oh, okay.
My intention is to read the Prophet of Adan in January with To Ride Hell's Chasm, and I want to read. What did I want to read? Damn, now I forgot. I might do Disquiet Gods with Jake over at Nerd Level Rising. That might have been it.
Yeah, Jenny Wirtz is
Um,
another one I need to try. I'm like, dude, there's so many books, man. I don't know when I'm gonna
yes,
get
yeah, there
started
are
on
so
that.
many books. I'll say this: To Ride Hell's Chasm, or Ride, yeah, To Ride Hell's Chasm, I think is what it is. Um, that one to me as a standalone, I'm like, okay, I can put my head down and dig into this because I don't need to get invested in like a scope. Like I'm sure it has a massive scope of world. Don't get me wrong, but I like right now reading Malazan, I'm like, I cannot join a War of Light and Shadows read, along in like I'm reading a massive series. It's just hard for me to jump into. Like doing Sun Eater and Malazan side by side was hard for me. It like in a
Wow,
way,
dude, that's crazy, man.
and I loved them both so much. Like I was so addicted to the writing styles, and I like took a break from Disquiet, like from Sun Eater, right when Disquiet Gods came out. I think I read Ashes of Man, and then I was like, okay. And then I just actually, I think last month read Dregs of Empire, like the short stuff, his short story collections. But Sun Eater, the writing style is just so addictive, and same thing with Steven Erikson. Like their writing to me is so beautiful and amazing, and it's not, and that might that might paint the wrong picture for you. Jenny Wirtz, I've heard everything about the way her prose is justified, the way people describe it. Like it requires your
I'm
attention,
either
requires you
thinking
to be
maybe I should
present.
start with because I heard Jacob from Talking Story talking about the
Yeah.
Gallant. Kept
Yes.
calling it the
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Gallant, and I was really tempted to go, it's Gallant. But
Yeah.
thinking
See, I
about
thought
either
it was
doing
gallant.
that
I'm over here thinking it's gallant.
or it's I think it's Gallant.
I think you're right. I think you're
but
right. Yeah.
uh either that or the standalone one. I think it's the one you
Yeah.
mentioned, the Ride Hell's Chasm.
Yes. That's
Either
right.
thinking of
Oscar.
that one
Yeah. Yeah.
because I'm like, oh, it's a
Yeah. Well, let me
standalone.
know if you
Okay,
do.
I could do this.
Let me know if you do. I know Jake from Nerd Level Rising would love to. I'm sure he'd love to talk about it. I think he just finished it. He's obsessed with it. And then I'm probably going to get into it next month. So, maybe that's
I'll
something we could all
I'll see
organize.
what I can do, but it might take a while.
Hey, no obligation, dude. I don't feel. I understand the booktube sphere and all the books that need to be read, and you got the things that you want to get into, and that's what matters most, really.
Yeah, no, it's a but yeah, no, there's still a lot of fantasy I want to get to, and then the indie
Yeah.
sphere is there now, and I'm like, oh my god, you're killing me over here, guys.
Yeah. Hey,
Um,
have you read any indie
yes, I've read the
Rahil?
Adan trilogy,
Oh,
which
right. Other than
I've
the
read
Adan trilogy.
what else did I read? I read Thrice by Andrew Meredith, which was pretty good, though
Interesting.
was a little bit of a weird reading experience because I read it on my phone. That was a bad idea. I mean, you can do that if you want. I don't. I've done it. I read Dreamer Awake by my friend Liam, which was fun. If you like Sun
Okay.
Eater, you might like that one.
What is it called? I don't have
Uh,
my Canada.
Dreamer Awake is what it's called. It's a
Dreamer
it's a novella.
Awake. All right. It's a
Yeah,
novella. Oh,
yeah, yeah.
manageable.
Um, very much. It's very much in that kind of very woozy kind of sword and sorcery slash science fiction that I've heard Book of the New Sun kind of be like. So there's that.
Okay.
So yeah, Chris Verrocchio I think even blurbed it because he and Liam are friends.
Oh,
So
that's awesome. Okay. Noted.
I read that. I was going to read a couple of them for my spooky reads, but that didn't happen. I was gonna read Tori's book, Tori from Tori Talks. I was gonna
Oh,
read her
yeah,
book,
Bloodstones. Yeah.
Phased.
Oh, a different one. She wrote Phase.
Um,
That's an earlier one, yeah?
yeah, that's her first one, and
Okay.
I was gonna read some other ones, but I'm gonna read some more next year. I'm gonna read Sledge versus the Labyrinth in January because I'm curious because like fantasy and science fiction seem to kind of blow up, but Sledge versus the Labyrinth is kind of like a weird crime thriller kind of action book. So I'm like, oh, this should be
Okay.
fun.
Noted.
Um, Here, let me see if I can grab it. Oh yeah,
Yeah,
and the
I'm
Legend of
gonna have to
Blackjack by
zoom in here.
Legend of
This is my.
Blackjack by A.R. Witham. I really liked. I thought it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it.
I've heard that name before. Okay,
Let me find it.
you're getting a mix of all the genres. I'm jealous of your scope of your reading scope.
Let me see. Where is it? Where is it?
Is the Legend of is it Blackjack?
Yeah, here. Just here it is. Oh, yep.
We got it.
Okay, so here is the Legend of Blackjack.
Oh wow, it's a
Ignore
beautiful
the
cover.
damage there. I don't know.
Ah,
It
it's a
came in
beautiful
like
cover.
that. So,
Yeah, yeah.
and there is Sledge versus the Labyrinth right there.
Oh, I think Chris from Bearded Book Beast just read that in October.
Oh, did he?
Maybe I'm not. Don't quote me on that. I would,
I'm
yeah, but I think one of his spooky reads in October was that one, and I think he loved it. I think he had him on for an interview.
I talked with the author Nick Horvath. He's another interesting guy. He's lived a lot of lives.
Yeah,
He was a
yeah.
basketball player, and I think he's like a science teacher as well
Oh
in
wow.
New
Oh
Zealand. I'm
wow.
like, how'd that
Oh,
happen?
that's so
And
sick.
then he wrote Sledge versus the Labyrinth. I'm like, all right, man, I'm gonna have to check that out. So
Yeah, it's funny.
I felt it was a good winter read because it takes place in Minnesota and it's all snowy. So I'm like, I'm gonna
There you
read it in
go.
January.
There you go. Perfect. Yeah, perfect.
um, but yeah, no, I mean, there's some other ones I want to read. Like I want to read Tori's The Bloodstones at some
Yeah,
point.
Bloodstones is one I want to read. We gotta when you decide that you want to read that one, shoot me a message and I'll read it with you.
All right, yeah, that sounds good. Again, it
Yeah,
might take a while, but yeah, I'll keep that in
whenever,
mind.
whenever. Yeah, you let me know.
Um,
Or if I get to it sooner, I'll let you know. But either way, you just let me know when you're getting to it.
the one I really want to get to at least next year. I'd like to at least start the Jacqueline Hagan books.
Yes,
What's that
yes.
called?
Wickwire Watch.
The Wickwire Watch. Yeah. Because I'm a big fan of like the Liza Locke-Lamora and Perdido Street Station, and that book sounds kind of like in that vein. So
Yeah,
I wanna read
yeah.
that.
John's. I watched her interview with John. Her and well, I think she was also in the military, and
Oh, were you in the
her,
military?
her. So I was, yeah, I was,
Oh,
yeah, I was in the Navy for a bit, yeah. But I think her approach to the narrative sounded so interesting based on how John talked with her about it. And then also, her and I share a cover artist as well as Ryan Cahill
oh wow.
on the
Okay.
old book. So yeah, I found the person that did her work and Ryan Cahill's, and I'll send it to you offline because I'll probably announce it next month. But
Wait a minute. Didn't you say you said your who'd you say was editing your book? I thought I saw it in one of your videos. Or
I'll
can
I didn't say who. I'll tell you offline just because
Oh, okay. Sorry.
I'm
I
sending
thought
it to him on. No, you're good. I'm sending it to him on Tuesday, and
or maybe you told me
I
when or I think I saw it when you sent me that the 40 pages. I think that was where
yes,
I may
yeah,
have
yeah,
seen
yeah.
it.
I'll
Never
tell you
mind.
when we
Don't
get
you
off
don't have
if
to
that
say it
works.
on here.
Well, yeah, I just don't know. You know, it's one of those things where like I want to make sure I want to send it to him first. I want to make like it's one of those things like him and I have been corresponding. He's getting it on Tuesday. This December 10th. And then I'll be like, hey, by the way, like, is it cool if I meant, at that point, I'm like, hey, by the way, is it cool if as I'm talking about it, is it cool that I mention that I do up these updates every week? Is it cool that I mention your name? I haven't asked him officially yet. So I want to make sure that it's okay with him. I don't see why it wouldn't be, but, it's just one of those, you know, before it goes public, I want to make sure I respectfully ask.
Yeah, I mean, there's other ones like Ryan Cahill or Cahill or how you pronounce it.
Hmm.
His
Yeah,
books.
yeah,
Maybe I'll try those at some point.
yeah.
Um,
The first one, I didn't, I liked. I didn't. The third one, and I know we were just talking about. You don't want to be the guy where like it takes two books to get into it. Of War and Ruin, the third book in that series is I enjoyed the first two books. I enjoyed the novellas. The Exile, the novella between the second and third book is excellent, as well as I mean I enjoyed the other one. The Fall was awesome too. I would say if you have time, throw the Fall in. It's another like short hundred some odd page book. Um, and just see if the world interests you. It drove my interest heavily. And then the third book, you sort of get that massive scope, and you get it in the second book, but the third book really tears it up, and it's so good, so good.
Yeah, I mean, there's probably more. Like, I want to read more of Andrew Meredith's stuff.
Yeah,
If
yeah.
not only because, yeah, I mean, he's a really interesting guy. Yeah, I mean, I've talked to him a couple times.
Okay.
He's one. I'll admit, he's one of the smartest writers I've met on this side, or on our side of the internet, I should say.
Yeah, you had him on your channel, yeah?
Yeah, yeah. Funny story about that. It was, I can't believe it was almost a year ago now. It's ridiculous, but
Mm.
um, but I recorded that episode, and I got this new mic that you see now. That's almost a
Oh
year old
no.
now. Um, well, you see, I was using OBS, and we were just having a good time
Mm.
chatting. I had forgotten to link the mic to the
Oh no.
OBS. So basically, I was talking to him, and his audio was coming in fine, and I was just silent. So yeah, I had to re-record that. We managed to get
Oh
like a
my
good
gosh.
half hour out of it, but yeah, that was massive. It was a bit disappointing because it was a great conversation we were having before. But
Damn.
he's a no, but seriously though, he's an interesting guy. Um, um,
Tell me
really
more.
smart. What?
Tell me more. Yeah, I gotta watch the interview.
Um, he I mean, he's done a lot of things. He's made like board games.
Oh, that's so sick.
Yeah, no, he's yeah. I mean, yeah, he's an interesting dude. It's
Yeah.
um, oh, who else? Who else do I want to read? I want to read like some of the people I've had on, like my friend Tim McKay. I want to read his book.
Okay.
I forget what it's called at the moment, but
Yeah.
he just put like there were three books originally. I think he made it into one book because he was kind of dissatisfied with how it was.
Very cool.
Let me see. Actually, let me look at my channel because I have it up right here. Um, you know. Oh yeah, like PL Stewart. I want to try him out
Yeah,
because I've
PL
had a
Stewart's on my short list for sure.
yeah.
People that
He's
I gotta get to soon.
another cool guy. Who is really smart and knows what he's talking about.
Yeah.
Um, and he's well, what else? But yeah, some of my friends have told me he's really good, so you know, I'll have to
Yeah.
check him out whenever I get the
I've heard
chance.
good things. Yeah.
Oh,
That's one I gotta get to as well. PL Stewart and Jacqueline Hagan, I think, are and then I really want to get to Philip C. Quantrell.
I think I've actually heard of
Because he's
that
got
guy.
like nine some odd. He's got like a giant book series called Rise of the Ranger. I think is the. I don't know if his name is series of the first book, but he's got so many books out. It's crazy. And then also another one to put on your radar that I haven't. I've only read a bit of. I love the covers of these books. I believe the first book in the entire universe is called Fate Marked by David Estes, but the book that drew me to him was Kingfall.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I see that one and I'm like, oh, it's in my Kindle Unlimited library. I have it on Audible. I'm like so ready to like do both. You know, I like reading and listening sometimes. It's nice. And yeah, so that's another one I really want to get to is David
Oh yeah,
Estes.
Hybrid Helix by my friend Joe Byrne. I've also read that.
Ah, okay. So
Um,
you have dove into indie a bit.
well, like I said, it's been slow, but I've been doing it, so
Yeah,
I've read a
yeah, yeah.
couple of things.
Yeah, it's an
Um,
interesting space. You know, it's really cool that everyone kind of supports each other. It's really, really cool.
yeah, there's some other people. My friend Livia, I would really like to read her stuff because she's interesting. She writes like interactive stuff. Like she has apps,
Interesting.
like literal apps. You can look them up, and they're like choose your own adventure stories. They're
Oh,
really,
wow.
yeah, yeah. Um,
Okay.
I've wanted to try that because I'm like, oh, that's that. Or well, I did read Choose Your Own Adventures when I was a kid, but
Yeah.
I didn't like, it's something to try at least, even though it's gonna be on
Yeah.
my phone, so I'm probably gonna have a hard time with it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. Have you ever speaking of like choose your own adventure, have you ever played D&D, Dungeons and Dragons?
I have, yeah. Not in a
Okay.
while because I had this really epic like 4 year game I did with some friends of mine out in Canada, and we kind of did
Whoa.
it over the internet. And I'm like,
Cool.
all right, I'm gonna take a break, just gonna
Yeah,
chill
yeah,
out for a minute, and yeah, I haven't gotten back to it
yeah.
yet.
4 years.
I
Wow.
know,
That's so
yeah. I was
sick.
like, my God, man.
I'm so mad I discovered it so late. I found it so in the military, you know, you're kind of limited with that, especially where I was. you're and by the way, not nor super cool at all. It was like in the middle of California, you know.
Oh.
But you're it was you. I found someone who knew how to DM, and he kind of turned me on to it, which kind of led to me writing. But I started DMing myself, and I created this like the world that essentially my book is about. But you have these two continents, and I would in the military again. I had access to people who wanted to play, so I got two groups of 8. I got myself a co-DM, and we our Saturdays from like 11 in the morning until 1 a.m. were just Dungeons and Dragons. One group for the first half, another group for the second half. And my whole goal was to get them to like come against each other eventually, and have these like two 4v4 sessions where they would like duke it out and figure out like who was the secret agent essentially inside of like each group. And I don't know, it was like a very fun experience, and I really want to get back into playing. We did one with the BookTubers recently, which was fun.
Yeah, I
But
saw that. Or I saw a bit.
it's
All
so
right, I
fun.
listened to it anyway. I was driving to school while that was going on.
Oh, it's so fun. It'd be cool to like have, multiple different groups just get together for one shots and stuff, So
Yeah, it's yeah, I'm like, oh man, I'm surprised John hasn't played. I think
yeah, me too. I was shocked. Yeah,
he'd really take to it because he's an actor, right? He was
exactly.
anyway.
Exactly. It's such a great acting exercise too.
Yeah, no, it's
Yeah.
what was the like running gag that wasn't like Brian's character like eating everything?
Yes. Yeah, well, yeah, Snacky Jason. He snook snacks, and because initially he was Sneaky Jason, and well, actually initially he was just Jason, and then he turned into Sneaky Jason, and then he turned into Snacky Jason. He had probably the largest character arc of that entire session for sure, from start to finish, just absolute
His true passion was
evolution.
stealing food and eating it.
Yeah, yeah. His promise, progress, and payoff were all very, all very well oriented. It was a great time. I had so much fun doing that. I gotta communicate with Jake and Will, who is the DM, and see if we can put together another game, or maybe just Will, if Jake's busy, and see if we can get another shorter game going or something. Who knows?
Yeah,
It'd be fun
no,
to have you on board.
yeah, it was a good show. I enjoyed it. It was but yeah, no, I have played tabletop RPGs. I haven't played them for very long. Like I got into them a little bit when I was in like late high school, and then I got out
Okay.
of high school and then I started watching some stuff. I'm like, oh, this seems fun, and I started playing with some friends,
Yeah.
and I met some people out in Canada who play, and they're very nice people, and I played with them, and
Of course.
we went
Yeah.
on that whole epic journey, and also played a game with some other friends of mine, which was fun. It wasn't that long, but it wasn't as long, but it was. I loved that session. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
That's very sick.
which he is now turning into a book. So yeah,
Cool. Yeah. That's what I love about it. It's just like the storytelling experience. It's so unique, and it's so freeing, and the improv, and I don't know, it's fun. It's very fun. And then it can turn into something that's telegraphed. Do you find yourself to be, when you write, back to that real quick, do you find yourself to be you find yourself to be more of a plotter or gardener, I think they call it.
I've been asked that, and it's kind of weird. Like I'm gonna quote my friend James Wade. I'm kind of like a plantser, if that makes sense. Like I generally
Okay.
like how I write, I generally like plot stuff out. Like I'll write chapters and then I'll write it because
Mm,
I've realized I just don't have the patience for plotting it out, outlining it,
yeah.
then writing
Yeah.
it. Like I gotta write it. I
Yeah.
gotta get it down. You know,
Yeah, I agree. I'm similar. But yeah, like
it
you
leaves you
know,
with a lot of imposter syndrome though, because I sent out a Plague of Nightmares a couple times. I'm like, oh my god, he's gonna hate it. He's gonna shit on it. He's just gonna he's gonna know I'm a fraud. He's just gonna know I'm making this up as I'm going along.
who is he?
My friend Josh
Oh, okay. He's
Pantalesco
reading it.
is who
Okay.
did it. Which is a good recommendation. Get to know the guy before you edit with him. So
Oh, okay.
it took
Okay.
$400. I don't regret it.
No, no, not
Though
at
of course
all.
my
It's
dad
worth
was
it.
giving me a hard time. He's like, "He gave you $400 just to do that?" And I'm like, "God, stop it."
Yeah. Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
probably gonna come in here and be like, "What you saying? You talking shit about me on the podcast?"
Yeah.
No, no, but on the serious though, um, yeah, no, it was an experience. I didn't realize, like, here's a funny thing I will say, like, I wrote like they sighed a lot. Like I didn't think it was that
Mm,
much, but then like
yeah.
I looked through it and he he just
He like
marked all
red
of them.
marked the hell out of it.
And he
Yeah.
marked the hell out of it. I'm like, damn, I didn't even think it was that much. Like, sorry, bro. It's just, I was surprised. That's the fun part about writing. Sometimes you surprise yourself.
Yeah.
You're just
Yeah.
like, man, you know?
Yeah. 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 Especially, I mean, for me, the experience of writing the first time, I mean, I was disgusted going back through my manuscript. Absolutely disgusted. I was like, oh my God.
Well, that was a
It
weird thing
looked
because,
like
like, I
a first
remember when
grade
I
writer.
finished it, I'm like, I'm actually kind of proud of this. Does that mean this
Oh,
actually?
that's impressive.
And I'm like,
Uh,
wait, does that mean this is gonna? Does that mean it really sucks?
yeah.
I shouldn't be
Yeah,
feeling that.
no, no, I don't know. I don't know if there's a definitive answer to that question. You know, I think everybody has a different experience. I definitely felt like what I wrote was absolute. I was like, I can't. I had the experience of wow, I can't believe I wrote this in a negative way. And going back in the polish I'm in the middle of right, well, in towards the
I
end
think
of
it was
right
more I was
now.
proud that I did it.
Yeah, 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 for sure. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah,
You know, I
that's
mean,
sort
I
of a
don't know
big
if it was
accomplishment.
necessarily like I was proud of what I mean, I was proud of what I had written, but you know, it was kind of like it was more
Yeah,
like I did it, you know, like I finally
yeah.
did it.
It's hard to start something and finish it, and therefore, putting 80,000 words on a paper, having a start and a finish, start and ending is pretty impressive. You gotta, that's definitely something to be proud of.
Now,
You know,
I have had experience because I wrote like a really bad like Walking Dead riff novel when I was like 14, and I
well, there
looked
you
through
go. You're already a
that and I
writer.
was like, that was god awful. What was I thinking? Good
The
lord.
zombie bit my arm or
Yeah,
something
no,
like that. Yeah,
it was, you know, we all got to start somewhere though. So I try to,
yeah, yeah,
I'm
yeah.
really bad at giving myself grace, but I try. I'm trying more.
I think I share that sentiment. I think most people share that sentiment. I think it's very hard to it's hard to be easy on yourself when like you have this idea of what your capabilities are, and then when you come short of that, whatever that may be to yourself, it's very easy to hold that against yourself.
Yeah, no, it's a process is what they like to say, and it's true. Like, you know,
Yeah.
here I'll give you a little funny story from when I was writing A Plague of Nightmares. You know, I used to hate when authors would say the characters would take over the story. I thought that was like a dumb, cute thing authors would say.
Yeah.
Let me tell you right now, you heard it from me. It's true. Because there were moments I
Yeah.
wrote down, and then it was just kind of like, well, what if they do this?
Exactly.
Or the
What
character
if?
was just
Yeah.
like, I'm just going to do this. And I'm like, well, not like that, but it was just kind of like, well, what if they do that? All right, let's go with it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. 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 Yeah, that is one of the coolest parts, I think, of the experience. I tried a lot of different stuff too. I don't know if you've had this experience. I was writing a scene with a character where I was like, oh my God, he might die. Um, and so I decided to roll a d20 three times and do death save throws for him
that did.
to see if the scene was going to end with him dying or him living. And it's like it's at the halfway point, so I don't want to spoil anything, but I did some death saving throws for one of my major characters.
That's funny you bring that up. That did not happen during A Plague of Nightmares, but I remember I co-wrote this thing about a prison planet with a friend of mine some years ago. Um,
Cool.
and and it was kind of funny. We would roll dice when stuff would come up. Like, okay, what are the characters gonna do? We're gonna roll the dice. All right, we're gonna just do that. And
Yeah,
it was pretty
literally. Yeah.
funny. It was pretty fun.
Okay, so this is a shared experience. Okay, that's
Um,
good. That's
but that
good.
did not happen during A Plague of Nightmares, though. As far
Okay,
as
gotcha,
because I
gotcha.
knew most of the beats of where it was going because I've been thinking about it for a long time. So
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know,
yeah, yeah.
um,
I that's one of the big things too, right? Like you said, the characters guide the story, and then you have an idea of where you want to start, where you want to end, and then you kind of see how that evolves over the course of the characters telling the story. It's all again a very interesting process. Again, it's really thank you again, by the way, for sharing. I'm grateful that you're so open about it.
yeah, no, I remember my dad. I gave it to my dad to read because he's started reading my stuff and he read the ending. And I'm gonna be as vague as I possibly can, but
Please, yeah.
he's just like, dang. So is
That's
there
good.
anything you could do like that doesn't make it that sad? And I'm like, nope.
No, it's gotta be. You got to do this the story service.
Yeah, no.
It's owed its service.
Like it's that's why I call it dark fantasy. It's not really grim dark. It's
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. I'll
Hmm.
you know what I'll do. I'll let the booktubers say this is this type of fantasy, and I'll just be like, we'll just go with that.
There you go. Yeah. Hey, that's a good method. Yeah. It's so hard to define.
I'm
I
just be
think
like, yeah, that. All right, I'll go with that.
yeah, yeah. It's kind of it is important to like kind of know, but at the same time, like you have an idea, right? You have an idea of what it is,
Mm-hmm.
and that's kind of where you start. And then once it's out in the world and it's in people's hands, it's kind of out of your hands. Like, oh, it's classified as X, but I think it's more Y.
Yeah. No,
Mhm.
yeah, it's. I mean, I hope people will like it when I put it out. I'm really excited for people to read it. Actually, is really that's also really
It's a
surprised
good
me
sign.
because I thought I would be more nervous of people reading it, and I am a little bit. Don't get me wrong. I'm not really I'm not gonna pretend that what I wrote was like literary genius or anything like that.
Oh,
But
yeah,
I
yeah,
mean,
yeah.
but I'm mostly pleased with it, and I want people to see it and engage with it. So
Yeah, that's good.
makes me
That's
very
that
excited.
that's what's fun about it. Like people get to experience the world that you created and that you put time into, and you know, that's fun. It's fun to be able to talk about it with people, and that's why I want to ask. That's why I want to ask questions because I understand that, I empathize with that, and I'm very excited. Really am hoping it's coming out in 2025.
I hope
You
so,
know,
man. That would be nice.
yeah,
It's kind of funny. Me and my dad talked about it. I know someone who's like a graphic designer, so maybe we could do something. But here's the thing: I have no freaking clue what I'm gonna do um for like a cover. I don't know what it would look like. So we'll
yeah.
see.
You got to decide. You want simple or do you want a scene? It's really I went with I'll send it to you after. I don't know. I don't think I did send it to you, but I'll send it to you after this. I went with a simple route, and I think that you put something out, and whatever it ends up being, it ends up being. If you need, I have I paid some beta readers to read it to give me like some detailed feedback. So if you wanted those resources, I'd be happy to share them with you, and then other people obviously who've done it for free. But you just let me know.
Sorry, someone was talking to me.
No, you're
Could you
good,
repeat
dude.
that real
Yeah.
quick?
I said I have like a pool of people that I paid and kind of had read my book to just get an idea of like unbiased eyes.
Oh,
So
so like beta readers.
yeah, exactly.
I did a similar thing though. I gave them like
Okay.
4 or 5 chapters because I'm like I don't want them to read the whole thing.
Oh, okay.
I want to savor the experience for when it comes out. So I
Oh,
gave like the first most I gave was like the first like 9 or 10 chapters, I think. So
okay. Okay.
I'm not sure. Not sure.
Yeah.
I don't remember now because I got rid of them. But
It's all right.
um, um, got a lot of interesting feedback about like stuff I could tweak. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, that's always fun. I enjoy
Yeah. I
doing
think I
that.
might be approaching mine a bit delusionally. I like you don't know because you don't know if it's any good. Like when you're writing, I'm sure you've had this experience. You're like, oh, I don't know if this is good, and then you send it out and people give you feedback. There are some small things that you may make adjustments to, but at the end of the day, like it's nice to that and at the end of the day, it is validation. It's nice, and of course, you have to see through the rose-colored glasses and like, be able to pick out the things that need to be made better. And that's why I really liked getting those eyes on the project because I just was like, all right, I need to know. Like I need to know.
Yeah, no, it's yeah, it was my thing because I'm like I'm I've been trying to rein in my impulse to like put it out there in the world because I want people to read it, but I'm like no, you got to tweak it a little bit. I think it's
Yeah.
important letting people who haven't written it look at it.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
I
For
remember I
sure.
was talking to a friend of mine because me and my dad are gonna look at it when we're in Florida, which will be next week. I can't believe we're already nearing that, but
It's exciting.
I'm gonna be looking at it while we're over there. And I was kind of wary at first. I was like, I don't know if my dad's really gonna know what I'm doing here, and it's not sure. And then I had a friend who was like, well, maybe that's a good thing that he might not know, because he might give you feedback that you might not have gotten anywhere else. And I'm like,
Yeah.
that's a good point, actually.
Yeah. That is
So I
definitely
don't know.
something to consider.
I don't know. We'll see. I don't know. We'll see. But he's talked
Yeah.
about, like, he's made good points when we've talked about it in the past, about, like, as an audience member reading it, he's like, maybe consider this. And I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. Yeah. That is it. That stuff is super valuable. I do. I'll say I recommend getting the eyes on the whole project. How many ever eyes you can. That obviously you don't want too many cooks in the kitchen. That's a tough balance. Um, but it does. I don't know. It definitely helped open my eyes to things that needed improving. And then you see the consistency. If you give 4 people your manuscript, and then all 4 people say this one thing didn't work, then you're like, okay, well then now I know that needs more work.
Yeah, there was one thing I changed for. This is gonna really suck when I get into this change, but there's this one thing I did where I did something way different than what I initially planned, but then I thought about it. I'm like, I hate this. This sucks. I'm gonna change it back to the one I had before, because one of the harder things for me, because like when I sent it to the guy who edited it for me, my friend Josh, he did
Yeah.
tell me, he's like, you don't have to listen to everything I'm saying. You can
Yeah.
ignore some of it, and that's really
Yeah.
hard
Yeah.
for me, because like when someone tells me to do something, like as like advice or something, like I
Yeah.
generally do it, just to
Yeah.
kind of like
It
because
comes from a place of experience. Yeah.
yeah,
And like
exactly.
you're like, all right, let me listen to
But then
this.
I
Yeah.
thought about it, and
Totally.
I'm like, I'm not liking it. Doesn't feel right. So I'm just gonna switch it back when
There you
I
go.
do it
And that
again.
tells you what you need to know. That's part of the journey.
That's one of the more difficult parts. I'm like, okay, what are you gonna keep? What are you gonna take away? When you're editing, it's kind of one of the
Yeah.
harder parts of it. Anyway, for me, anyway,
Yeah.
because like, is
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
instinct right? Because I'm constantly second guessing myself.
Yeah. War of Art. Let's read that book.
I will. You know what? I'll pick it up. I'll read. I'll see if I can read it in 2025 just for you, and I will tag you in the
Oh,
video when
please do. I'm telling you, you won't regret it. I promise you. I
Oh no,
promise you.
I imagine I won't. It seems like a good one. But
It is a game changer. Yeah.
so what are you reading right now in terms of like
Uh,
content?
right now I'm reading Assassin's Quest. I'm about like 20% way through that. The third Robin Hobb book. I'm on Berserk, the fifth deluxe edition, which is like volume 14 or 15. And I actually haven't picked it up this week, which I filmed yesterday. I talked about it. And then after I read Assassin's Quest, I'm going on to book 6 of Malazan, getting the Bone Hunters in finally. I just love every time I get an opportunity to return to that world. And then, yeah, my December is kind of wild. It's Assassin's Quest, Bone Hunters, and Words of Radiance. And I honestly
Oh
don't
my
think
god,
yeah, these are
like
like
dude, I'm
three
just reading
massive
Eileen
books.
and Deathless and the Wizard Knight for the rest of the year. I don't know, how do you do what you do?
I a lot of it is like at the end of the day, we sit down and read. I give myself at least an hour and a half of that, and then during the day, well, actually, lately during the day, it's if I have an hour during the day between clients as a trainer, I'll take that time to write now over because I'm revising before an editor, so I'm doing that over reading, but usually I'll be able to read. And then I do audio and read, so that helps. Like I have to do a chapter on my commute to work, I'll do that and then pick the book back up where it left off on my Kindle or like in the case of Bone Hunters, it'll be physical. And I don't actually know if I'll do the audio thing with Malazan. I typically don't. Um, but I know Words of Radiance I will, and I'm doing it with Assassin's Quest because the audiobook was free. So I was like, all right, yeah, I'll just download it and put it together with the reading
Hobbs
experience.
another one. I is one of my blind spots I need to get to. My friend Derry from Derry's read it before, is really like, you should read it,
It's
because
incredible.
like one of the things I'm reading. Well, speaking of her, one of the things I'm hoping to get to next year, 2025 anyway, is Discworld. So I'm
Okay.
gonna give that a try. That was another
Yeah.
one I was kind of hesitant for a while, and then finally, again, my attrition got worn down. I'm like, okay, fine, I'll read it now. So here we
Yeah.
go.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, Discworld's one I got to get into too. I haven't read any of those books. Yeah, I think everybody has their blind spots. It's
Oh
part
yeah.
of, there are some people who don't, which is crazy, but everybody has them. And then you also have what you like, and you want to return to what you like every once in a while.
Yeah, like my lord, who has very few blind spots? AP Canavan probably, and like my
Probably.
friend Raph. Like it's really hard recommending my friend Raph books because he's
He's like,
read a
oh, I read
lot. I'm just like, dude.
it. That's crazy. That is crazy. There are people who are just caught up. Like it's crazy. It is wild. Like Petrick to me seems like one of those people who's just caught up.
Well, yeah, he's like in the like industry a little bit, so he gets like a he gets some steps up in there
Oh yeah.
on that
Oh yeah.
regard.
It's so sick. I wish I had started reading fantasy when I was younger. I really do. I'd put it aside for so long. I love like the other mediums of fantasy, but when it came to reading it, it was like again for me that was an entire blind spot, for no particular reason. And then Tad Williams, I read Tad Williams a few years back,
Ted
or
Williams is
maybe
another
even
one I
2 years
need to
back.
get to. He seems like an interesting guy. I've seen a couple of his interviews with like my friend Matt from Beard of
Yeah.
Darkness and also Jimmy
Oh
Nuts.
yeah. 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 I think I started Matt's interview, and that's one that I have to finish. Tad Williams is an incredible writer. He deserves all the praise he gets. And I saw George R. R. Martin was inspired by him, so I was like, okay, well, if George R. R. Martin was inspired by him, he should probably be the first fantasy series I pick up, and so I did. And it did not disappoint. I promise.
Also, I don't know if you've ever watched The Library Later. He's another one where, like, my God, what hasn't that man read? Because you might think I'm very widely read, and you would
I
be
do.
partially
Yeah.
correct.
Yeah.
But there are people who've read way more than me, and I'm just dazzled by them.
Yeah. Yeah. It is an incredible feat to be able to read as much as some people do. I don't get. I think I'm a pretty. I think I have a pretty normal pace in that regard. This is not a usual, like this month of reading 3 massive books is not my usual forte. Let me just say that.
Hope so. I'm like,
Usually I'm
I,
pacing myself a little bit better, but I really wanted Malazan in this month,
you
so
don't
I'm
seem to
doing it.
have as much audacity as like Brian Bell, like
Yeah, he
because
picks up some big books, right?
yeah,
And he'll do it.
like some of his fans recommended Malazan. He's like, let's do it. And I'm like,
Let's
this
do
is
it. I'm
what
gonna
you
read
do it.
3 of them in 1 month. Yeah, it's crazy.
And he's like, well, it
Yeah.
is just words in a book. I'm like, okay, you're right. You're right, but that's still crazy.
Yeah, it is pretty wild. Yeah. Yeah,
No, man, it's
100%.
oh my goodness. Well, I mean, you mentioned we were talking about Elric earlier. I mean, I see you
Hmm.
like Empire the Vampire. I haven't read it yet, but from what I've heard
Yep.
about Empire the Vampire, it reminds me a lot of Elric. So
Okay.
if you like
Noted.
Empire the Vampire,
Yeah.
then you might like Elric.
I did love Empire the Vampire. And I imagine Jay Kristoff probably was pretty inspired by Elric. I don't actually know the parallels, but I will see
Well, I
how
haven't
long
read
the
Empire the
first Elric is.
Vampire. I'm just going off of what I've heard about it. I watched John's review and I'm like, this sounds a lot like Elric. It just has vampires
Okay.
in
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Based on what I know, same thing. Based on what I know about Elric, I imagine that there are some similarities
I'm
and
like,
some
oh,
crossover.
decadent society. There's the one that has like a conscience, and like, oh, okay, that sounds a lot like Elric.
Yeah. I love the old school Elric covers too. Like the omnibuses. They look so cool.
Oh
I gotta
yeah,
pick them
yeah.
up.
I'm thinking about just picking those up because I'm like, Moorcock was one of those guys, kind of like Brandon Sanderson or like Adrian Tchaikovsky. Dude cranked them
Hmm.
out like it's going out of style. Like he
Yeah,
just,
yeah,
my lord. So I might get those
yeah,
omnibuses, man, just for peace
yeah,
of mind.
yeah, yeah. Just to know that you can get them,
Yeah, so I can be like,
that are
okay, I'll just
published.
read these and
Yeah,
hopefully I'll be all right.
yeah. I feel the same way. I might pick them up. Probably because they're short. Yeah, like you can like
Oh yeah.
digest. Yeah, I'm gonna pick them up. I gotta.
Well, yeah, I mean, a lot of fantasy was shorter back in the day before, like, George R. R. Martin showed up and was like, all right,
Yeah,
here's how you do a
yeah,
proper epic. And I'm like, oh, God.
yeah. Yeah. I really like the method that Tolkien used in writing all. Like he wrote one big book, and then broke it into 3.
Hmm.
So I kind of stole that concept with my first 2 books. Is like I wrote book 1 and book 2 to like be as a single arc,
The
But split them up and make it make sense. Like have each has a beginning and an end, but obviously the second book ends the arcs, the primary arcs that are at the beginning of the first. Um, I love that method that he used because it just felt so rewarding to get to the end of that arc, the story as a whole.
Mm.
So yeah,
Yeah, I yeah, no, it's an interesting way of doing that.
yeah,
Though it's kind of funny that a lot of people do like these epic book series and they kind of look back to Tolkien. I'm like, Tolkien only wrote like three. He wrote three of them.
yeah. He spent what 17 years putting the world together and then got him out. Yeah,
Yeah, like he just like created the elf language just for just for.
so wild.
I'm like,
Yeah,
dude, what are you
yeah,
doing? I can't do
yeah,
that.
yeah. Yeah, and I mean, put out the most. I mean, arguably, right? I don't know. Maybe it isn't, but I think it's probably the most influential fantasy epic of all time, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, no,
Yeah,
it's
it's just
like,
yeah.
I mean, aside from maybe like Conan, it's probably the most
Yes.
influential of.
Yeah. Oh
Which
yeah.
is kind of sad that a lot of people are kind of forgetting that because they're like, oh, Joe Abercrombie and George R. R. Martin. I'm like, well, yes, they're great, but like you should read who inspired them, and like
Yeah.
that.
And I think
That's
Elric was an inspiration for Abercrombie as well.
oh yeah. I mean, a lot of like grim dark as we know it today kind of comes from Elric, really.
And it's like Elric, it's like Michael Moorcock and Glenn Cook. Those are like the two big ones for that
I haven't read
inspired like a
Glenn
whole
Cook yet, though
generation.
I have friends who are big fans of his, and I'm like, all
Yeah.
right, yeah. I'm like, can I get to Malazan first before you
Yes.
harass me some more
Well,
about this?
Erickson was a big Glenn Cook fan.
Yeah, I read
Um,
I read that Erickson. I actually saw because they have a oh man, the Tour Essentials they're putting out
yeah.
now. Steven Erickson did the foreword for the one for Black Company.
Oh, yeah. He did the I don't know, Joseph Reed's books. He did a whole like Dread Company video, which is like I don't know if it precedes Black Company or if it goes after, I can't remember. So I started picking those up because it was interesting, and I think he did a foreword in the first one I picked up. Which again, it's very similar to like you were talking about how fantasy used to be shorter. It's very similar in that aspect.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard it's like I think Steven Erickson called Black Company like Vietnam War on
Yes.
peyote,
Yeah,
which I'm like,
yeah.
okay, all
Yeah.
right.
I could
I
see
think
that.
Glenn Cook actually fought in Vietnam, so there you go.
That's so sick. I mean,
Um,
yeah, sorry, it's coming from like, like that. Maybe not, but
Real
I don't
cash
know.
money that he went to Vietnam.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, it's not. Well, I think also there's something to be said about um, him writing in fantasy and processing probably a lot of what he had to experience, and in whatever way that is, which I think is an interesting facet of writing in general is where it comes from, and that unique experience that Glenn Cook had inspired generations of fantasy. That's and probably more than just that, which is very cool, really cool to think of.
Yeah, no, it's I like them a lot. Or well,
Yeah,
I don't think I've read. Well, I haven't read Glenn Cook, so I don't know. But I have a
yeah,
lot. Again, I have friends who speak very highly of his stuff. So I'm gonna
yeah.
have to give him a shot at some point because
Yeah, he's worth it. I
so
think. I
many.
think so.
No, it's like next year, one of my goals. I'm I've been trying to because I'm gonna do a video about it before the end of the year or either near the end of the year or early next year. I'm actually hoping to do some like pre-Tolkien fantasy next year. So
Okay.
I'm really excited about that.
What would encompass pre-Tolkien fantasy
Well, I'm hoping
other
to
than
read.
Beowulf?
Well, yeah, not Beowulf.
Yeah.
Well, Beowulf is like way before. Well, it's
Yeah.
technically like myth. I don't know if they'd call it that fantasy
Yes.
nowadays.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
they would call it fantasy nowadays if it were written today. But
Exactly. Yeah.
anyway, um, like I'm hoping to read The King of Elfland's Daughter by Lord Dunsany,
Okay.
um which is considered really good by excuse me
You're good.
I'm hoping to read no, actually, yes, this was technically pre-Tolkien. Hoping to read Gormenghast, the whole trilogy.
Oh yeah.
I was going to read Titus Grown this year, but I didn't have enough time.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
Blood in the Mist, I'm hoping to read that as well.
Hey,
So
that's another one. When you pick up Gorman Gas, let me know. Shoot me. I have the new hardcover. I picked that up I think
well,
last month
let
or
me
two
get
months
my
ago.
copy out since I'm thinking about it.
Yeah, let me know.
Oh dear. No, not you,
Because
Vigilant.
that one's split up too. It's like the same thing as Tolkien, right? He wrote the all of the
Yeah,
books.
what's funny was apparently from what I've heard, he was gonna like write it as like a multi-book series. It was gonna go along, but unfortunately, I think he got like a type of dementia, and
Oh wow.
unfortunately, he couldn't. He could only do three. But yeah, I got mine in a big omnibus. So there you
Oh,
go.
look at that. Let me see that. Hold
Yeah, there you
on.
go.
Okay, there you go. Yeah, the one I got, I think it's like it's over there somewhere. It's like a maroon cover or something or other. I don't know. It's got on Amazon.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm gonna try and cut it up um through the year, kind of like how I did Edan this year. Though I hear the
Yeah,
prose is very how would I call it?
jarring,
Baroque,
polarizing.
very descriptive.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh,
Okay, yeah. Let me know when you pick that one up too.
all right, I will. Yeah, no,
Yeah,
I but yeah, a couple of those. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to. I'm hoping they're good because
me
I
too.
have a friend who me and him talk about older books, and it's like sometimes it's kind of hard because it was different back then, and I'm like, well, yeah,
Yes.
but it shouldn't be that hard. A good story's a good story. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah. Good story's good story. Yeah.
but
Yeah.
we'll see. I've heard that Gorman Guest is not something to rush through, so we'll see how
Yeah.
it goes.
Yeah. Yes. Remel Broadcasting, actually, the guy I told you about who did the Guardians of the Moon review.
Oh yeah.
He has a whole video on Gorman Gas that he did that I enjoyed thoroughly.
Oh okay.
Um,
Well, look that
yeah,
up.
he has a pretty good Gorman Gas video because he ran through it and loved it, and
Oh
it's
yeah, I have
interesting.
heard of this guy. Yeah, I've seen a couple of his
Yeah.
videos. All right.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. 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 Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah,
Yeah. He's
I've
got
seen
some
this
good
guy
stuff.
before. Um.
Yep.
Yeah. No, he's a um. Yeah, apparently Peak was an interesting guy. Like he illustrated his own books. So
That's so cool. That is such a cool thing to me.
uh,
I cannot
and
draw.
hey, Tolkien did that too. So
Yeah, 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 yeah.
yeah, he I mean you can look him up. He illustrated some or he was like an amateur, like he drew. But yeah, they're very good. Like some of them, like there's one he drew of Smaug, the dragon from The Hobbit, and
Oh,
like of
that's sick.
Sauron. So yeah, it's pretty neat.
That is so neat. I love
Um,
that stuff.
but yeah, I'm looking forward to reading Gormenghast. I've been really excited to read that for a long time, and The Broken Sword, which is technically came out. It actually came out the same year as Return or not Return of the King,
Lord of the
Fellowship of
Rings.
the Ring.
Oh, Fellowship. Okay.
Unfortunately, as it was overshadowed by
Yeah,
Tolkien.
by one of the greatest fantasy epics of all time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's bad luck. Yeah.
and that seems like one that'll really that'll really appeal to me because I'm a big Norse nut. I love
Okay.
Norse mythology. Um, so yeah, Broken Sword apparently is very inspired by that. So I'm looking forward to
Okay.
reading that.
Noted. Broken Sword. You got it.
Um, but yeah, no, it's just yeah, just a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Do you have any big plans for next year, reading wise?
Well, the goal is to finish the last four books of Malazan that after this one and get through the ENC Esselmont stuff. But while I'm doing the ENC Esselmont stuff, I'm going to be picking up. I think I'm the big plan for next year is starting the Wars of Light and Shadow by Jenny Wirtz, but that'll probably be in like June July timeframe, and then obviously releasing my book in July
Well,
is a big goal of
congratulations
mine.
on that, and
Yeah,
good
yeah.
luck with that as well.
Yeah,
So,
that is probably the number one priority as far as 2025 is concerned. But as far as reading goes, yeah, Jenny Wirtz is one I got to get off my list. I really want to get into. I'm probably going to start Black Leopard, Red Wolf, and finish that.
good
Um,
luck.
that's one I want to get into
I
for
I
sure.
I will give a warning. Because I actually, I'm actually considering making a video about this. I have a friend of mine who has read it and is familiar with this stuff. But with Black Leopard, Red Wolf, the narrative is very fluid. He likes to jump
Mm.
around a lot, and he's
Okay.
very inspired by like oral storytelling because like African oral storytelling is a big thing in his work.
Okay.
So read it out loud, or if you want to immersive read it, you can get the
Do the
audiobook.
audiobook. Yeah,
Yeah.
that sounds like something that okay, noted. Thank you for that. I'll
Um,
probably end up doing the
I did
immersive read.
not do that, but I did read it out loud, and it was a very and it proved a very enjoyable experience
Oh,
in
okay,
my case.
noted.
But
Yeah, I think that's interesting. Okay.
but I heard you said you did audiobook, so maybe do audiobook. That might help. I don't know. I'm gonna
Okay,
actually do more.
totally.
I'm gonna try and do more immersion reading next year.
Yep.
Because I've had some friends like my friend Ben from Genghis Khan who does it, and he really likes
Mhm.
doing it. So I'm gonna try
Yeah.
it. I like trying things. We'll
Yeah.
see how it goes.
I think my comprehension goes up when I do it. It really helps me pick up the concepts and the story a little bit better. And then also, you can mix in. Yeah, if I'm going on a walk, I can listen and then come back home, pick up the book, listen and read. That sort of thing. So it goes a long way. You know.
Yeah, it's I mean, I mean, there's one I'm definitely gonna do it with, but I don't know what other books I'm going to do an immersion reading with. I'm not like maybe I thought maybe like Malazan, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure yet. We'll see.
Yeah, that might be good in terms of the comprehension aspect. If I definitely wouldn't just do the audiobook your first read through. I would say if you're going to do audio with it, to make sure that you're doing the immersive aspect with it for sure.
Yeah, I mean it's the thing with like audiobooks, I just struggle with them and like nothing against audiobooks, like they're totally fine if people I have a friend who is blind, well, his name's Raph, he's on YouTube.
Okay.
But he's blind, so basically all he has is audiobooks and like
Yeah.
that's, it's totally a valid way to read. I'm not gonna
Yeah.
I'm not really interested in the is audiobooks technically reading argument, like that just
Yeah. Me either. Yeah.
however you do it is fine. I'm just
Yeah.
personally speaking, I just get distracted really easily when I do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Though there are
Yeah.
some like I read like I listened to the First Law audiobooks, which I think are
They're
brilliant.
so good. Yeah, they're
Excellent.
incredibly immersive. Just like you can keep track just based on Stephen Pacey's narration alone. Like it's so immersive as is.
Yeah, he's so freaking good. Like I
I wish I
mean,
could afford Stephen Pacey. Let's just put it that way.
yeah.
I really do.
I don't know. I
His
don't know if you
audiobook
watched. I
narrators
don't
are
know if you watch
expensive.
House of the Dragon, but there's an episode and he's in it. He's like one of the
Oh, really?
lords. Yeah,
Oh,
and
that's
I'm
so
like, holy
sick.
crap, that's
Okay.
him. This is
In the
awesome. That
first
was pretty
season or
awesome.
second season?
What?
First season or second season?
Second season.
Okay, I haven't watched second season yet. I gotta get into that
Um,
now.
but yeah, no, he's an interesting. Well, I don't know. I don't know too much about him, but
Yeah,
dude is
I wish I
phenomenal
could
though.
afford him.
Like
I wish I could afford him.
though it was funny though because like his version of Glocta was not how I imagined it because I imagined he had like a more higher pitched voice,
Okay.
but
It's funny. I haven't. I read the First Law trilogy, and then I did the standalones on audio. So
mm,
I actually haven't heard Glocka's voice done by Stephen Pacey yet.
yeah, it's a bit lispy.
Oh,
So
okay. Yeah, okay. I
which
can
makes
see that.
sense, but I didn't
He's
think of
missing
it like
teeth,
that.
right? Yeah. He just sounds so competent when you read him on paper. So like that sort of thing makes you think, oh, but at the end of the day, like he's a warrior who got messed up in battle. And so it's really cool to. That's probably a really cool narration. I gotta hear his Glocka.
Yeah, no, just like I mean, it's better than like I'll admit I'm not a huge fan of the Game of Thrones audiobooks because it's done by like this older guy who
Yeah,
unfortunately
yeah,
passed away.
yeah.
After the fifth book came out.
Oh wow.
Um, but like he basically most of the characters he makes them sound like grumpy old people, and I'm just like, oh my
Yeah,
god, redo it, please. Oh,
yeah. I listened to the first Game of Thrones. I liked it, but like you said, it's in terms of a fantasy narration. Yeah, I think Stephen Pacey is the pinnacle of that. You know.
I know. I'm like, oh man,
Jesus is.
am I gonna, like, I don't know if I'm ever gonna listen to another audiobook again.
Yeah, he just
Apparently,
is. You
he's gonna
know.
do it for Joe's new book, the
Oh,
Devils.
exciting! The devil.
Yeah.
Okay, nice. It's exciting.
I'm really terrible at keeping up with recent releases, but I'm really hoping to get to the Devils at least in
Yeah,
2025.
me too. That's got to be a big. That's a big one for me to get to for sure. I think I got to do. I forgot. I had to do like Pierce Brown next month. I think I completely forgot. I got to do Dark Age. Dang.
I haven't read any of
I,
those
I've
yet.
I've been far. I've been. I read Iron Gold like 3 months ago. It's been a while, so I think I got to get back into that too. But you got
I
to let
haven't
me know
read any of.
how your Wizard Night experience goes, because maybe I'll bump that up a little bit fast, maybe a little bit sooner.
Yeah, I'll let you know. I've only gotten 20 pages into because like it last couple days have been crazy. I haven't really had a lot of time to like sit and read, or if I do have time to sit and read, I just am kind of tired and I don't want to.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah,
I'm like I
yeah,
want reading to be fun. Like it
yeah,
should be
exactly.
fun. I don't
Yeah.
want to feel like I'm forcing myself. It's like with
Mhm.
writing. You know,
Yep, yep. It needs to be a freeing experience. Yeah.
it's just kind of um. Let me see. Like I don't know. But yeah, no, I'm just. But yeah, I should be done with it before November. It's like 400. That's the nice thing about one of the nice things about the Wizard Knight. Chapters aren't very long, so
Oh, okay.
there's
Noted.
that, and also they're like 400 something pages, which is like I doable in a month. I can do that.
Yeah. 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 Okay.
Um,
Noted.
Again, it's just a lot of the stuff Wolf throws at you. I kind of struggle with, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah. He's an interesting character.
Yeah, he
He's so
also helped
intelligent. He's
make the
another intelligent guy.
machine that the Pringle came from.
Oh, no
So,
way.
yeah, yeah.
That's fascinating.
He
I
also had
did
a
not know
freaking
that.
awesome mustache. I just have to say, I
Yep.
love that
Yeah.
mustache he wore. That
Yep.
was
Yep.
a.
Yep.
I saw an
Those are
older
the best
interview of
ones.
him in like the '80s, and he didn't have the mustache. I'm like, Gene, where's the
Yeah.
mustache?
Yeah. Who am I looking at? This is
I
weird.
know, yeah.
Yeah.
No, but yeah, no, he's yeah, no, interesting guy. If you read about his like life story, because he's like this big fantasy writer, big science fiction fantasy writer, and then he wrote and then he made the Pringle machine. You're like, oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
There
Interesting
are I
life.
have heard like it might be apocryphal that he might have inspired the Pringle mustache, but I don't think that's true. So I don't think that's actually true.
It's a conspiracy. I
Yeah.
believe in.
Um. I don't think that's true.
Well,
Um.
now it's official. It's officially a conspiracy theory, and I don't know. I might believe it.
I don't. I'm
I'm on
not
board.
personally sure. Gene Wolfe aficionados can let me know in the comments
Yeah,
if
yeah. I'm sure
that's
there's
true
somebody
or
out there
not.
who knows. Yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean, I have plans in 2025. Like I'm starting a new kind of series. I did the series called State of Science Fiction on my
Okay.
channel. Hoping to do that for fantasy. It's gonna be called The Fate of Fantasy. Trying to keep a
Ah.
little tight-lipped about it on the channel, but this shouldn't be going up for a
Okay.
while, so I'll talk a little bit
Okay.
about it here.
Heck
Um,
yeah.
but yeah, I'm looking forward to doing that. It's going to be a
Awesome.
little different from State of Science Fiction because it's going to be more me talking about a bunch of tropes and subgenres and kind of the history of the genre. Because
That's cool.
I get kind of irritated with the people with YouTubers kind of sounding off on things, and I'm like, yeah, you know. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm hoping it'll be an educational experience.
Yeah, yeah. I'm sure it will be, man.
So yeah, there you go.
Yeah, you pump out some good content. I of what I do catch, it's like so hard. Again, there's another thing I like have not made. I love making time for these conversations because it's like interacting with somebody. Whereas like obviously you go to a channel, you comment, and I love doing that. My time lately has been with as work got busier, I was able to like spend so much more time consuming content. Like in the summer when everyone's on break and all that. Now I guess the I'll call it my school year started. I'm not even in school right now, but work year started, and it's a lot harder to be able to consume content now. So the time that I do spend,
I've heard
I'm
January is a
glad that
real
I.
pain in the ass. I know it
Oh
is for
yeah,
my dad because he works with healthcare. He's like, and
Oh,
everything gets set back, so you have to like redo it in January. I'm like, why do they do that?
Mm.
And he's like, I don't know. I'm just a call center manager. I'm like, okay,
Yeah,
fine.
yeah, yeah, yeah. This could be probably a pain in the butt, I bet. So yeah, I'm trying to catch up on content, and then it's like you get behind. It keeps getting pumped out. You pump out a good amount of content there.
Yeah, no, I try to like podcast for Monday, and then Wednesday
Oh,
and Friday are when I put out videos. Though next week I will be gone, so there won't be a lot of videos. There will be a podcast though. So Sam
yeah,
is
that's
actually,
cool.
at least as
Oh,
of the recording of this video, Sam's episode is coming out
oh, cool,
this
cool, cool,
upcoming
cool.
Monday.
Okay, heck yeah. I want to tune into that
Which
one.
was great. That was a great conversation. I really enjoyed that one.
That's it. I gotta get a convo with him myself. I
Yeah,
gotta
he's a
get
good
like
dude.
used to figuring
He's
this
a good
stuff
dude.
out.
He's on
Yeah,
Discord, so.
he is right. He's on the Talking Sword Discord. Okay.
I saw.
Yeah, I gotta
I
figure that out.
yeah, that's the thing. It's really hard to keep up with everyone's content. Like the ones I keep up with like religiously is like John's and
Yeah.
like my friend Raph. I watch Phillips when I have the chance,
Yep.
and like
Yep.
some
Yep.
other
Yep.
people, and that's
Yep.
about it. I'm really
Yeah.
terrible at keeping up. Even like people I
That's hard.
like my friend Owen Edwards, I think is very underrated. Um, I want to watch him more. I don't have a lot of time on my hands. I get
Yeah.
distracted
That's
easily too, so that helps.
yeah.
That doesn't help
Exactly.
matters. Um,
Exactly. Exactly.
um, but yeah, or SFF 180 who, um,
I feel like I heard of them.
um,
I know it's SSF, the Addicts, the guy who did Adrian Gibson, I think his name is, who did Mushroom Blues.
oh yeah, I talked to him not too long ago on my
Yeah.
channel.
Okay. Noted.
Or
Yeah,
on
you got a
I
lot of good
actually
interviews. I got to catch up on.
I know I have a lot of people on the podcast. Like let me tell you, like it started out as kind of this like small little thing, and then I got on BookTube and I found a lot more guests. It's pretty
Oh,
awesome.
that's so cool. It's nice that you do these conversations. It really is.
Yeah, no,
I thoroughly
I'm sure
enjoy
it
it.
doesn't do well for the algorithm, but I enjoy doing them. It's probably my
That's what
favorite
matters. Yeah.
favorite
Forget
part
the
of doing
algorithm.
this. So
Yeah. 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 That's important. Do what you enjoy doing,
I
making
don't
those sacrifices for the sake of the algorithm is,
I don't want to do the whole dancing monkey thing.
no, no. Don't get me wrong. I have no problem with people who do that because then I'm entertained. I'm the monkey. Like who gets entertained. But yeah, no, I think it comes down to produce what you want to produce, and if people like it, that's great. If they don't, they don't.
Yeah, that's pretty much how I do it. It's like you read um if you're not doing what you want to do, forget it. Like don't,
Yeah.
you know. Which I know
Yep.
is
Yep.
easy
Yep.
for me to say. My cult channel of 500 people.
Yeah.
Uh
Hey, that's what
but
it is, man.
I enjoy doing it. So that's kind of what matters at the moment.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um but yeah, no, it's yeah, it's a jeez, mouth's getting dry.
Hmm. Oh yeah.
Um but yeah, it's looking good for this year at the moment anyway.
Good.
Um
I'm excited. I'm
I'm
excited to
hoping.
get your project, man. I'm excited to see what it's about.
Yeah, I'm trying to keep it as tight-lipped as possible,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
don't
yeah.
take it
No worries.
personal.
No, don't worry. Whenever I get it, whenever it's out there for
Maybe I'll
people to
send you
read.
the first couple chapters if you're interested, if you want to check it
If
out.
if you want, it's up to you, man. Whatever you're thinking about, whatever you're comfortable doing. Don't, whatever you want to do.
But I appreciate your enthusiasm.
Yeah, whatever it is, man. I understand. I understand why you'd want that. I get it.
No, yeah, no, it's in podcast, of course. I'm hoping to get some people on for next year. I've podcast, a lot of it is me just kind of winging it a lot of the time, so we'll see who I get on. But I do have some people I'd like to have on in
That's
2025.
cool, man. I love the process. I love what you're doing. I really do.
Like it's kind of funny. Like sometimes I'll send like invites out, and then people respond. I'm like, okay, we should do it, and then and then it's like and then like a couple months go by, and I'm like, oh yeah, I asked that guy, didn't I? I got to check back in with him.
Yeah, yeah,
Luckily with you and me, it was one of the easier ones where you're like, okay, let's get it set up and we're here. So
yeah. It's rock and roll. Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
which is always fun for me because I'm like, okay, we can get it done. I'm glad.
Nice. It's easy to get out of the way. Yeah,
Yeah, no,
exactly.
it's it's yeah, it's a grind, but it's a good grind. You know, I used to do videos Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then I'm like, I can't do this physically. So
Hmm.
Wednesday and Friday, I'm like, all right, I can do this.
Yeah, the conversations are nice, and then the rest, you know.
And then like I'll do like conversations because I like doing that on my channel, and that's always fun because I'm like, oh yes, I can put this up on, you know, this day, you know.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
But
Yes,
yeah,
sir.
no, it's just kind of, yeah, it's just it's a grind, like I said, but it's a fun grind in a way.
Yeah, I mean, it's apparent you're doing it, man. You got a ton of videos on there going out.
Yeah, I know. I'm almost at 400, man. I'm like, dude,
That's wild.
I know.
That is wild. I don't even know what I'm at right now. Like 30, 40. I don't know. Not 400.
Yeah, I mean, there's other books I'm hoping to read. Like, there's a book called Pale Fire by Vladimir Nabokov. I'm hoping to read. Because I'm a big fan of Lolita. I love that book. Talking about one of my
Okay.
favorite books that's a first person. That one is one of my favorite books, which is a first
Okay.
person
Heck yeah. Heck yeah.
narration. And the audiobook by Jeremy Irons is fantastic too. So,
Okay. Noted.
um,
Lolita
hmm
or Pale, and then Pale Fire is the second one.
well, I mean, it's not a series, but
Not a
it's by the
series.
same
Standalone.
guy.
Okay. Gotcha.
Hoping to read that. And what else do I want to read? Let me pull. Or do I need? I don't have it on here at the moment. I don't want to pull it out. Oh Lord, what else? Well, like I said, Blood in the Mist and some of these pre-Tolkien fantasies I want to do.
Yeah. Yeah. You're gonna have to
Um,
let me know how those go. And then obviously Gorman Gas, we can rip.
um, there's a guy called Charles Bukowski. I'm gonna read his book Ham on Rye, hopefully sometime this
Charles
year.
Bukowski, the poet.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, I got one of these puppies here.
Yes, I do like some of his poetry. Um,
Yeah,
I'll admit, like, I'm really not a big poetry reader, but like, I do like
yeah,
listening to it. You know.
yeah, yeah. It's nice. I love the produce videos where they have like a voice actor do them. They're nice.
Yeah, it's yeah, also Sledge, like I mentioned, and
Yeah,
yeah, January. I'm trying to figure out what books I'm gonna read in January. It's gonna be fun because
yeah,
like
yeah.
I'm really weird about how I plan them. Like I think like okay, what books can I afford to read in because I don't like making like set TBR lists.
Yeah,
Again, nothing against people who make those. You
yeah,
know,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
totally fine. But like I just have a hard time with it, and that just again kind of I like being fluid. You know.
Yeah, that's
So I'm like,
important.
ooh, I want to
You know.
read this book and this book, but like, how many books can I fit in this month?
Yeah,
How many
yeah,
books can I fit in to the month?
yeah.
You know. So yeah. Oh yeah, Spear by Nicola Griffith. I'm hoping to read next month
Wow,
in
you have quite the
2025.
list.
Yeah. No, it's it. And Malazan, of course. At least
Yes.
Gardens of the Moon. We'll see how it goes.
Selfishly, I'm the most excited for that, of course.
Yeah. I, I,
Yeah,
I'm not shocked. There's a lot of people who are
yeah.
excited about that.
Oh yeah, oh
And there are people who are like Britton don't because
yeah.
like it's weird with
Yeah,
Malazan because like it's kind of a love it or hate it kind of series from what I've seen.
yeah, yeah. It's a bit. Yeah, it is a bit of both. Yeah, I don't know. I have a hard time hating anything I pick up. I always try to find the good in it. For the most part, like I can understand what people would or would not like, and I can identify that. But I try to be as objective as I can. Of course, at the end of the day, I'm not. We all have our biases, but yeah,
It's very rare for me to actually hate a book.
yeah,
Like I'll
yeah,
be disappointed with a book, like that happens, that'll be
yeah, yeah, yeah. I
that'll
can see
happen.
that. Like
But
any story, yeah,
it's pretty rare for me to like get angry at a book.
yeah, 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 yeah,
So
yeah,
there you go.
yeah,
Some might say I'm not critical enough, which like too bad.
yeah.
I'm fine
Exactly.
with how I
You
do it.
enjoy it the way that you enjoy it.
Yeah, we'll
I
see.
got, Britton, I got to get some grub in my belly.
Yeah,
I
I've my dad and I are trying to get haircuts today, so
ah,
I'll have to. But yeah, this has been fun though.
yeah, dude. No, we should do this. Honestly, we should probably do this another time. Do you do group combos? Yeah.
I haven't done them very often, but I have done them. So,
Let me let's talk offline messaging, and then we'll figure out something that if you end up picking to ride Hell's Chasm up, maybe we can get you, me, and Jake on a talk on either his or my channel. That'd be fun.
all right. Well, last thing I like to do before I wrap these up,
Yeah.
Chance, if you have any social media, feel free to share them.
I mean, you can go to this or wherever this name here. You can search that. I think there's a dot in it on YouTube. That's the big one. I put my weekly updates there. My Instagram, I don't really do anything on yet, so don't worry about that. And then, I mean, it's pretty much just YouTube. That's that's it right now. Yeah.
Though you are on Discord, so you can find them on
Oh, I am on
Discord.
Discord. I am on Twitter, but I don't actually even know my Discord stuff. Oh, geez, I'm not prepared for this,
You
Britton.
can probably
I'm
find
not.
them on John's Discord.
Yeah, find me on John. If you're on Talking Stories Discord, you can find me on there. It's my name, Chance Dillon, and then we can chat if you have any questions. Yeah.
All right. Well, Chance, I had a great time hanging out with you this evening
Britton, me
slash
too, man. It was
afternoon.
great.
Um,
Let's talk a little for a second once we hit off. We're off record, so I
all
can tell
right.
you
Well,
the
I hope
other.
you guys enjoyed this conversation, and until next time.
Thanks, Britton.